Hi, I'm Claudia. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are here with Suzanne and Ty Giesemann. And we're here to talk about loving with no compromise. What that means is being your true, authentic self in relationship with somebody who is their true, authentic self and supporting each other in a loving environment. So thank you for being here today. Just out of curiosity before we get into our line of questioning, when I contacted you and presented you about this opportunity of, sharing this vision with me and getting the word out about what love really looks like, can I ask what made you say yes?
Oh, that was easy because people often comment to us that they feel the love between us, and they say it with admiration, a little bit of envy, and I just wanted other people to see what that looks like. It's what you described, and so if anybody has the chance of having what we have, we wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm. Ty, how long have you two been in relationship?
We've been married almost 19 years.
19 years. And you're still beaming at each other.
It's our honeymoon.
I love that. What makes you say that it's still honeymoon?
Because I still light up when he walks in a room. If we've been apart for a few hours and he shows up somewhere where I wasn't expecting him, or even if I am expecting him, I just see his eyes and his smile, and I just flutter. That's the man I love. I feel that every day. I wake up next to him and feel so grateful. It's just never faded.
Have you ever felt that way before in your life?
No.
Before we find our ideal partner, right? We as humans make a vision of what that looks like in our heads, right? We visualize what that person looks like, how they're going to act, what it's going to look like. Did you have a vision of what you thought would be your perfect person, and then when Suzanne arrived, did she fit that description, or was she something completely different?
I never had really a perfect vision of that. I just know that we got along very well from the get-go, and she struck me as a very intelligent, resourceful, athletic, attractive woman, and what's not to like?
How about for you?
No, I don't think I had a wish list for the perfect partner, but I just know that when I saw him, I just loved him from the start. That's it.
So it was right away.
Yeah, he's just, I think it was meant to be. There's a lot of a destiny feel here that we couldn't not be together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was an immediate, magnetizing.
It was an attraction, yeah.
Draw to each other. Was it physical, or was it more than just physical? Because, we see people and we're like, ooh, but was it more than that?
No, it's everything. It's the whole picture.
Yep.
What does it mean to have her in your life?
I can't imagine what life would be like without her. You think about, especially as you get older, as I am. There's 14 years difference between us. I just can't imagine being in the position that she's in, if she were older than I, and not having her around for a number of years.
We just talked about it. You were talking about that you had this automatic drawing to each other when you first met. But did you know it was love in that moment? And if you didn't know it was love, how did you know that you were in love?
I don't think I knew it was love then. It's just an all-around attraction, and now it's a feeling of completeness when we're together and even when we're apart. It's just, you hear that a couple makes each other feel whole, and I know that we both feel that way. The yin and the yang, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ty, what do you love most about Suzanne?
She is a very loving, giving person. And anything she does 100%. She puts her entire spirit, her entire intellect into every activity she goes after. And I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to her initially and continues to impress me every day.
Yeah, she looks all into your relationship too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Suzanne, what about Ty do you appreciate or love the most about him?
It's several factors. First, it's his heart. There's a gentleness about him there's a vulnerability to him that some people don't see, but I see. And then also it's his presence. In the Navy, we would call that command presence. That's a turn on to me. I love that he's confident, and I know that I can always rely on him, and he says what he thinks, and he stands up for that. Sometimes it's over the top for me, but I respect that, and I love that about him, and it's the whole picture.
It's the way that he commands the room. It's the confidence in him. Do you attribute that to knowing that he knows exactly who he is in life? The confidence that exudes from that and being able to command the room? Do you think it's because he knows what his path is?
I think it's his Navy training, really, don't you?
Yeah.
Navy training.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Ty, we all have roles in relationship. What are some of the roles that you feel that you're responsible for in your relationship?
Well, it used to be provider, and now that I'm retired, that's less of a role. I assist Suzanne in any way I can, which is now her new life as a evidence-based medium and an intuitive. So I'm helping her as much as I can. I'm a dog dad to our 2 little dachshunds.
Hey, I have to interrupt though, because the word that he's not finding is support system. But it's not that it's so much more than that. I couldn't be who I am without him in all ways. He boosts my confidence in what I do. So it's an emotional support system as well as helping me with everything that goes along with being who we are together. It's just, you make up the whole.
Ty, would you say that your purpose right now in life is to help her be the best person that she could be so that she can serve all the people that she's serving and making the change in our society that she's creating?
Absolutely.
There's an important factor here, though, that why he really is so important to my work of helping other people find love. When he's not here, if he goes off on a camping trip, it's like life just becomes a little bit less bright. He just brings light into my life all the time just by being here, being with me. So that's, when I talk about support, he brightens my day. He helps me to know who I am, which is love. And it's just that brightness that he brings to my life. That's what he provides. He may not know that.
So have you heard that before?
Not in so many words, but yeah, I think I got the impression.
So having that new information right now, can you share with us how that makes you feel in this moment?
Well, it makes me feel great. And I feel the same way when I'm away from her. I recently went off on a week backpacking trip to Arizona. And, from the time I left, I missed her. Even though I was having fun backpacking up in the mountains and everything, I had wished that she were right there with me. But I went there so that I could have some alone time. It's my meditative opportunity.
I'm glad you bring that up. And I love the fact that you miss each other while you're away. And what that does for me, it shows that you still have your own lives, right? Because this is what we're talking about, is creating, relationship, being true to who you are and not sacrificing who you are, but yet being supportive of each other. So you're going away and doing your things and you're still carrying on doing your things. And how do you feel that affects a relationship?
I think it's really important. I'm laughing because when we were dating, he took me on my first backpacking trip, and it was 26 degrees out, and I practically got frostbite, and I was miserable, but I was in love, so I put up with it. And now I say, hey, I'm going to sleep in the king-size bed. You want to sleep on the cold, hard ground, have fun, But I know that that's important to him, and there are things that I will definitely do if I'm not comfortable just to be with him. And I would go with him. If he said, I really want you to do this with me, I would do it. But at the same time, he says, this is my time alone, so I support him fully in that.
Ty, why do you think it's so important for couples to have alone time?
I'll give you one example. We lived aboard a sailboat for 5 years that was 46 feet long and 12 feet wide. And you're with someone 24 hours a day. There was no going to work, going to school. But even though we're on a very small boat in a very small space, Suzanne would need to go spend some time in the aft cabin, or I would go up on deck, and that would be our alone time, just to be able to sort of clear the mind out of, normal interpersonal reaction and just think of your own thoughts for a while.
But some people said to us, I don't know how you can spend so much time in such confined quarters together. And we really came to understand that you have to have a strong relationship to begin with, and then it's no problem. It's the people who don't have a strong foundation that go crazy when they're in that kind of environment.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. So people that don't have a strong foundation in a relationship, do you actually think that maybe there's a connection to not having a strong foundation to who you are as a person?
Sure, because you're relying on the other person to fill your needs, and that's not going to work. That's when people end up leaving that relationship and keep looking and looking and looking because they're looking outside themselves. I think we're both very confident in who we are. We love ourselves. And so, yes, we fill needs in each other, but it's not a requirement, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And because you know who you are individually, allows you to have appreciation and understanding when there's time that's needed apart, where other relationships, when they don't know who they are personally, and then they're in a relationship and they don't know who they are, so when they're apart, they start to, get anxious about the other person being away.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
You brought up a good point, and this is a second marriage for both of us, and my ex-husband felt very threatened by my success in the Navy. And so as I became more well-known in the work I'm doing now, I was a little worried at first. How's he going to handle that? And he has such a sense of self that he has never once felt threatened by any attention that I get. He knows that that doesn't take away anything from him, and that is so comforting to me because I don't want anything to come between us. I would give up my work that I do now. I would give up anything to stay with him because I think relationships are the most important thing in our lives.
well, what I think is so beautiful is that you don't have to, because he's strong enough, he's strong enough in who he is that he can stand and watch you shine. And, how does that make
And be
you?
very proud of her.
Yeah. So it makes you feel proud of
Oh,
seeing her
absolutely.
as successful as she is.
Yeah. I'm extraordinarily proud of her accomplishments.
Yeah, it's funny though because I was giving a talk and we were getting ready for it to begin. You remember this. We were standing at the table in the back of the room where my books were for sale, and he was standing beside me, and people walked in, and one woman went up to Ty and she said, "Are you associated with Suzanne Giesemann?" And he said, "Yes, I'm the driver."
I love that. Great relationships bring out the best in people. So, Suzanne, what do you feel that you bring out in Ty?
I never thought of it in that terms. He still has everything that I fell in love with. I don't know that I've brought out anything. It's
I think
all
I'm
there.
more sensitive now because, I joke around and call myself a sensitive New Age kind of guy.
Which is really a joke. But he is. He is far more sensitive than he used to. You're right. You're right. If I can take any credit for that, I'm grateful.
Haven't improved my fishing at all.
No, not at all.
Maybe talk to Shania about that in a second. Now, for you, what do you feel that he's brought out in you?
Me?
Yeah, the best in you.
Absolutely. Patience. He models that. I sometimes am just amazed at, and considerateness. I'm blown away by how he will drop anything if it makes me happy. We were getting ready for bed the other night, and it was late. And he walked in the bedroom, and I looked at him, and I said, if I were to say to you right now, I need something from the store, I know that you would go and get it. And he said, what do you need? That's the way he is. It blows me away. He can be in the middle of anything, and if I need something or express a want, he just does it or takes care of it. I've never seen that kind of considerateness.
But she would do the same for me. That's what couples do.
So same question for you, Ty. What do you feel that you bring out in the best in Suzanne?
She's always been like this.
No, it's
I don't
the
know that I've-
patience.
yeah.
It's the patience. When I see the way he deals with our dogs, we have dachshunds, and they're known for being stubborn. And we got these dogs knowing that I'm not good with stubbornness. And it just rolls off his back, and I look at him and I think that's my goal, to be like he is with those dogs. And I'm getting there. But he's been a role model for me in that regard. Patience. Yeah.
What do you feel that she brings out the best in you?
I think she's brought out a lot more understanding of people in the past few years anyway. Because she's obviously very sensitive and understanding of people's a lot of people's negative qualities and weaknesses. And having been in the military, you don't have a lot of people with weaknesses. And if I have any sensitivity at all to that now, it's because of her.
You know, we talked about this earlier with relationships that weren't so great in foundation. You know, sometimes we lose ourselves in the other person. Like you said, when you first started dating, you wanted to please him, so you went hiking and slept out in the 26-degree weather, even though you really didn't want to. You know, how do you keep that balance in relationship, that you don't give up who you are to take on the other person's, hobbies and their dream, and still have your dream? How do you find the balance between that?
I'm very aware of that word balance in my life, between work and play, between self and other. And so I just make a conscious effort to keep that in the forefront. Also, I saw what didn't work in my first marriage, and I made a vow to myself to not let that happen in this marriage. And part of the challenge before was that I wouldn't say anything when things were out of balance. And I warned him before we got married, if there's something in you that I'm not happy with, or something in our relationship that is not working, I'm going to bring it up. I'm not going to let it slide. And so as uncomfortable as it is to talk about some things, we get it out, because what happened in my first marriage was resentment built up. And I said, I never want either of us to resent anything about the other. And I know from my standpoint, I don't resent a single thing about him. So there's never any underlying tension or things left unsaid. If it comes up, it doesn't last long. Probably he would be very happy not to have to talk. You know, the wife wants, we need to talk about this, and the husband doesn't want to talk about it, right? Yeah. But it's worked.
So when she comes to you with this honesty and vulnerability, right? Because anytime you know that you're going to have an honest conversation, it's usually uncomfortable.
Horrible.
It's right. You like get that knot in your stomach, and most of us don't want to deal with that. So you really force yourself to have that. So when she comes to you, did you know that she had a challenge of coming to you and having these upright discussions? And
no, I mean this only happens every couple of 3 years. You know,
yeah.
I mean, we have
it's not all the time.
No, it's not a weekly one, as we say. And she's very patient with me, and sometimes I'll do something.
Vice versa too.
Yeah, I mean sometimes I'll do something dumb, and we talk about it, and it's gone.
And then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, rather than harboring it, not saying anything, and building up the resentment, so you get it out there right away. You know, you don't feel like, oh, here she comes, she's going to drag this out for 5 days.
Exactly.
Because it's not there.
Yeah. And there are skills, I don't know where I learned this, but it was while I was in the Navy. There are ways to have discussions that you don't use that word you. You speak on how this is affecting me, so that the other person doesn't immediately put up the deflector shields and be defensive. So there are skills you can learn to communicate better. Yeah.
You had mentioned your previous marriage and that it didn't work. And so my question to you was, in your previous marriage, were you as firm, like you know who you are today, right? You know your purpose. And were you as firm in your purpose and knowing who you are as you in your previous marriage?
No, I'm a completely different person. Even than when we got married. On the inside, I'm very different, and that's the result of my meditative practice and my spiritual awakening. I'm very different, and working constantly to practice the unconditional love that would change the world if we all realize that we're not here to change anybody else but ourselves. So I don't think I was aware of any of this in my first marriage.
Right. And so did you have that, you said even in the beginning of your marriage that you didn't really have that awareness, but...
Oh, no. I was much more needy 18 years ago than I am now, so I feel like we're in a much healthier place from my standpoint, even though the love that I know we feel for each other hasn't changed, right? Yeah, it's a less needy love from me anyway. I don't speak for Ty, but I hope you feel that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel that it's less needy because you love yourself more?
No, I think it's because I'm not looking to him to fill any needs that come up in me.
You know, we talked about how Ty supports you and your purpose. And, you know, Ty, he's got his own things going on over there. So why don't we talk about how you support him in his purpose?
Well, it's hard these days because my work has become very all-consuming and could take over 24 hours of the day, but I remain very focused how important our relationship is and my attention to him, and I try my best to balance it. He knows I spend a lot of time at my computer or having sessions with other people, but I make sure we find time for play every day. And then usually that's in the form of working out or taking the dogs for a walk in town or just sitting together reading. That's one way that I support him in being here for him. Otherwise, it's hard for me because I know that he would love to still be off sailing around the world. And I know that it's my work that's keeping him from doing that. So he really has sacrificed for me. So all I can do is just love him to pieces and hope that that's enough.
But on the other hand, in the sort of the middle part of our marriage so far, after Suzanne retired from the Navy, rather than go on to a second career, we moved aboard the sailboat, sold our house and cars, and went off sailing to the sunset for 5 years. And not many women survive more than 6 months of that, believe me. And she was actually a spokesperson for one of the big yacht builders, boat builders, to try to encourage women to take this leap. So she was a role model for other women in that regard to go off sailing.
You know, Ty, she just made a very interesting comment. She says that you've made the sacrifice of giving up sailing on you know, sailing around the world to be supportive of her. You know, how does that feel for you? Like, do you feel like you're giving up anything?
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, we would still have a boat, and I would be off sailing a couple of months a year. But a couple of years ago, we decided that the boat was just too much of an expense, and it was. We weren't using it enough. So common sense, for once, you know, common sense took over, and I said, okay, let's just get rid of the boat. We don't need a boat now. So, and that's fine.
But we do have an RV, and we go around the country and mixing work and play. I'm speaking around the country, but we're having a lot of fun in between all of those speaking events. So while we're not on the sea, we're hiking and we're doing the things that we love together, getting out in nature together. Now we're in a 42-foot space, 6 months of the year. And you know, even when we had this boat, we got it because it had an aft cabin and a forward cabin in case we needed to be apart. But in all honesty, Ty, weren't we always in the same room? If one person was on deck, the other person was on deck. We're joined at the hip by choice.
By choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in essence, you didn't really give up the boat. You just traded it in for a big RV.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who says that there's not a boat somewhere in the future, right?
We call it land cruising.
Land cruising. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So Ty, for you tell me what it feels like to be in a relationship that you obviously there's such mutual support. A lot of people out there that are in relationship that don't know what that's like to not have a partner who can stand by them the way that you stand by Suzanne. So share with us, how does that feel so people can understand what that looks like in a world that they don't know?
Gosh, you know, I wake up every day thinking that I'm the luckiest guy in the world. You know, because I have...
We argue. I said, okay, you could say you're the luckiest guy. I'm the luckiest girl. We do. We say that to each other every day.
Yeah, but I know that if I were to ask her for anything, she would say absolutely. And we, you know, if I said I want to go off sailing for 6 months, you know, that she would do it and put her career on hold for 6 months or just take the time off. But I don't have to, because, you know, we're very happy together doing what we're doing now, and I couldn't be happier.
It just made me think of, we have these 2 dogs, and we often say, well, they're just happy as long as they're with us. And as you were saying that, it made me think, we're just happy as long as we're together. Mm-hmm. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the whole purpose of this is to expose people to what real love looks like, true love looks like. And some of us don't grow up with those role models. And I know, Ty, that you had shared that you didn't really have that in your life. So can you share what that looked like for you when you were younger? Yeah,
my parents divorced when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and then my mother remarried when I was about 7. And my mother was always very loving. She and my stepfather had 2 daughters after that, who were my half-sisters. And my stepfather had always wanted his own son and never really considered me his son, even though I was living right there. And but my mother provided all the love in the family. And my stepfather also had been seriously injured in Korea, in the Korean War. And he was very bitter about that. So he was not a happy person. Whereas my mother was she was pretty delightful, would take us camping and encouraged me to go in the Boy Scouts. And it was a very happy home life on my mother's side, you know, less so with my dad.
I never knew his mother. I would have loved to have known her, but I want to thank her because she did such a good job of teaching him how to treat a woman, because he's a perfect gentleman and very considerate. And I know she deliberately trained you in that, right?
Well, when you say perfect gentleman, you know, some women don't know what that means. So what does that mean to you? What is a perfect gentleman?
I've heard of women who a man will open the door for them and they say, I don't need that. I say, thank you. You know, it's a beautiful gesture of respect and kindness that he will open the car door for me every time and carry the bags for me. Even though we lift weights together in the gym and he knows that I'm a strong person, let me get that for you. He's just a gentleman in the traditional old-fashioned way, and I love that. It's beautiful.
My mother also taught me when I was first starting to date. She said, now, one of the things you have to do when you go over to a girl's house is the first thing you do is you ask her mother if you can help in the kitchen. And I always got along wonderfully with the girls' mothers, not so well with the girls themselves often, but I always got along well with their mothers. But I think that carries over.
Yeah, and you do great dishes.
I do good dishes,
He washes the dishes very well.
And her mother loves me.
Oh, my mother adores him.
That's because he did dishes.
Now, just because he treats her the same way he treats me, with respect and love and humor. Yeah.
You know, when she says women who say, oh, I don't want that, you know, does that shift a male's perspective on a woman if they're not open to?
A little bit, you know, because when I first moved out to California with the Navy, you know, I dated a couple of girls who were like that, you know, and didn't want any kind of
chivalry.
Yeah, they thought that was really backward and, you know, retro or something, and that sort of put me off. So I certainly appreciate Suzanne liking it.
Talk about humor in a relationship. What's calling to you to that?
Just that we laugh every day. Oh, I guess it started on our honeymoon,
yes,
right?
Yes, it did.
There's a joke there. On our honeymoon, we stayed at a VIP quarters at the Naval Academy. That's where we were married. And I showed up with this Victoria's Secret bag and a little twinkle in my eye. And I told him I forgot something and left it in the car. Would he get it for me? So he goes to the car, but while he's there, unbeknownst to him, in the bag is cold cream and curlers and a sweatpants. And by the time he showed up, I'm in the bed reading Reader's Digest with the cold cream and the curlers. He walked in and literally fell on the floor laughing and crying at the same time. He was laughing so hard, and I looked at him and I said, darling, I promise you, life with me will never be boring. And happily, I did have a Victoria's Secret goodie with me. The cold cream came off, but we tell each other that life never has been boring since then. We've tried to bring humor into every day.
So share with us some other opportunities.
Oh, I got her back, if you will.
Oh, you did?
Because
Yes.
I don't know where this is going.
That's what makes it fun.
Okay, we were living in Maryland in a rental house. And I came to her one day and I said, Suzanne, we got this letter from the Homeowners Association saying that our lawn has been given a grade of D, and from A to F, and so we're really in trouble now. And so, to make a long story short, she was out there mowing the lawn late one afternoon.
Because he knows I was always an A student, and a D is unthinkable, right?
So then I took a picture of her, and she had this scowl on her face. Why are you taking a picture of me? And I said, who's the letter from? And so she looked at the letter as she's just finishing up the lawn, and she says, Mabel somebody.
He had written the letter and mailed it to me to push my buttons because he knew how I would respond to a D. And he let me agonize all day over the lawn because we had to leave for the day. But this is the kind of joke that he pulls on me all the time just to...
And he got you to mow the lawn.
Hey, good trick.
Yeah, the name on the bottom of the letter was Mabel S. a jerk.
Like Mabel is a jerk. It's just... I looked at him and I said, you're not that clever. But he was.
But he was. That's great.
So practical jokes, not so often, but just we laugh. We have the same kind of humor. And the longer you're with someone, you finish their jokes, and we laugh every day.
Mm-hmm. Every day.
Every day.
Almost 19 years later.
Yeah.
Still laughing.
Should we show them?
Yes.
Yeah. You can see how in sync we are because I didn't even have to say anything. He knows what we're about to do. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready. Space Cadets.
Hey, you know what that's called?
What?
Not taking yourself too seriously. And that's really important.
Why do you feel that that's important?
Because life is hard enough. Mm-hmm. And so if you can't be silly and look stupid on camera and in front of each other, which is going to happen, you show all of your flaws to each other, then you might as well just go live in a cave the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, between the boat and the RV, those are pretty close environments. Getting to know you probably was a theme song. And
Right.
Yeah, that's great. I know that you two, you have a lot of humor, but I also know that it was a lot of challenges in your life. Relationship isn't all just humor, and so let's talk about what a healthy relationship does in times of challenges. So you've had some immense challenges throughout your relationship. Would you share some of that with us, and would you share how that affected you?
We were sailing. We had sailed across the Atlantic on our sailboat, and we're in Croatia. And we got the word that my daughter Susan had been killed. She was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and this was June of 2006. 6 months pregnant, and was struck by lightning as she was walking across the flight line at the Marine Corps Air Station in Cherry Point, North Carolina. And she died. So we came back and did the funeral and everything, and that was probably one of the most transformative moments in our lives.
I can't imagine what it's like to lose a biological child, but for me, it was awful to lose Susan, who I loved, but it was also awful to see this man who I cherish and love with all my heart crumple, literally fall on the ground in a heap when he got the news. I thought it tore me apart. And that was the worst moment of my life. But the second worst was 3 a.m. when he had to write his own daughter's eulogy. that's something no parent should ever have to do. And to sit beside him and hold him as he's writing her eulogy, it was heartbreaking. And that's when you start wailing and saying, how can this happen? Why does he have to go through this? But to go through that together was, it was awful.
Yeah.
But I was glad to be there for him. And he's just been wonderful throughout all of that. He's a very strong man and dealt with it well and never took it out on anybody around him. But it's tough.
Ty, I can't imagine what that must feel like.
The worst day in your life.
And, and how challenging that might have been for you personally to deal with, but yet to be in relationship and have to deal with that. And then, having the loving, supportive, that make a difference in how you processed.
Yes, of course. It made a difference in how I processed it. But I think even more important is that the good that has come from that. Susan's death, as tragic as it was, and I would give anything in the world to have her back, put Suzanne on the path that she's on now.
That's part of the reason why I know that he understands how important this spiritual work that I do now is, because he knows we do it to honor Susan, and as a result of Susan passing. So he looks and sees all the lives that are changed through this work and knows that it's all attributed to Susan. And when you came up to our house, I don't know if you saw the Marine Corps flag out front. Some people say, I thought you were in the Navy. But that's in honor of her and the Marine Corps and how supportive they were when she passed. So that's always a part of our lives.
Now, you had mentioned that is when you started to take on your spiritual side at the time of her passing. Can you share with us what do you mean by that? What does that look like?
Well, when you start asking why is it that somebody who was 27 years old and about to be a mother is suddenly gone? And you just start asking the deep life questions, and I began meditating to try to get the answers to those questions and to see if I could contact her spirit. And this is the beautiful part. For me to say to him, we were living on the boat, I'm going to go in the aft cabin and meditate. That was so foreign, but he never questioned that. And as I began to awaken spiritually and have these experiences with a greater reality, with those in the spirit world, he never questioned that. He's been completely supportive of everything I've experienced and everything I want to do to further that new world that I'm in now, that I couldn't do this without that support.
Suzanne, this question is for you, because you did get more spiritual, and obviously your relationship with God or the universe or whoever's watching this, however it lands for them, through the loss of his daughter, gave you that opening to experience this world. And so I guess, did that relationship change how you dealt with yourself as well?
Like I said before, everything inside me, I feel, has changed. We used to sail on the ocean and my moods were just like the waves, up and down, and now I'm just very even-keeled. I have a sense of peace that is pretty unshakable. If I get off kilter a little, I come right back there. I completely view humanity differently. I understand now what unconditional love is. And I love that I can bring that to our relationship, to every aspect of my life. It has changed everything for me.
Ty, can I ask, because I really don't know, do you meditate?
I do not. I get off hiking, or when I run, I sort of get in a zone, and for me, that's meditation.
It is. I'm a runner as well, so I get that. Yes, it's a form of meditation, and being out in nature, some people that is their meditation. Do you feel that helps you stay grounded, like she's saying, emotionally, because you're emotionally, you don't waver so much, you're not so far up and down, and do you feel that helps you as well?
I think so. Yes.
You know, you guys have such a great relationship. Obviously, from the beginning, you had that magnetic pull for each other, not knowing whether it was love or what wasn't love, or, you know, in the way that you have humor and the challenges that you've made through in your life. You know, was there ever a time that you felt like giving up in relationship? And if you did, you know, what staged you to stay committed? You know, the time that your daughter passed, that could have been a time for you to just give up in general, you know? So I guess I'm looking for, like, what makes you want to, when she comes to you and has the honey talk with you, you know, honey, you know, what makes you want to stay committed to relationship?
Love. I mean, you know, I love her with all my heart. You know, I couldn't let her go without a big fight.
How do you know that you're in love?
Wow. I don't know the answer to that. It's just a feeling that you have that she makes me complete, and the thought of not being with her would be devastating. I mean, I can't describe what love is, but other than that.
Works for me.
Well, we talked about it from your perspective. What if you do something that Ty isn't so fond of? If, you know, obviously disagreements on TV and the news look very explosive and violent. So
This has also been part of the beautiful part about meditating is I know I can go into a meditative state and ask for help, ask for guidance, and the answers are always so much wiser than anything I would come up with. It's like having your own marriage counselor. I wish people understood this. So I can remember one of the rare instances where I just was beside myself and crying and at normal miscommunication or whatever that couples experience. And I went into meditation, calmed down with some deep breaths, and I said, how do I handle this? What do I do? And I listened, and the guidance was so clear. 3 words: just love him. And you say, yeah, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It doesn't matter what the cause of any argument is. Just love him. That's all we ever want. And I went back out, and I don't know what the disagreement was about, and I just looked at him and I said, I love you more than words can say. And everything just dissolved. And we hugged, and that was it. It's so simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
same for you? Go out for a run? Go for a hike?
Yeah.
It's really important. I've come to realize this more and more. Whatever buttons your partner pushes in you, that's what you need to work on, not them. He has very strong opinions about things, people, and I said it. I like his confidence, but sometimes they're much more strong than mine. And you know, I used to have to get up and leave the room when he would express that. And now, can't you tell the difference now?
Yeah.
It's been a big lesson for me in acceptance and allowing. So I use him to show me where I'm out of balance. I always realize, I don't like something that he's displaying. That's my problem. What do I need to change? And I think a lot of people don't realize this. You don't like it? Let's run from this relationship and find somebody else. Well, guess what? That problem is going to keep coming up for you because you're the one that needs to change. That brings a lot of peace in a relationship. Yeah. When you're not trying to fix the other person. We all have things that need fixing. All of us.
You know, you guys been married for almost 19 years, but together longer than that. And you look at each other like you just met. I mean,
Want to go on a date?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the butterflies are going in the whole 9 yards. You know, what keeps that going?
I think it's because every day he does little things and huge things to show me I'm important to him, that he cares. And I try to do the same for him. We keep it fresh. We keep each other knowing how special he is to me and vice versa, and how important he is in my life and vice versa. I mean, who wouldn't just be excited when that person walked in the door.
Would you share with us some of the little things that you do for each other on a regular basis?
Flowers.
Yeah, that's a romantic thing, and he does that. But little things, just, you want a cup of coffee? I'll make you a cup of coffee. Just considerate things like that. Noticing that something's wrong and needs fixing, I'm not talking about manly tool things, just anything that needs adjustment in my life. He's there and he does it. One time I remember looking at a picture of this marmot that we had taken on a hiking trip, and it was so cute. I said, "Is this adorable? They should make a stuffed animal of this thing." And my next birthday, I get a stuffed marmot. He listens, see? He listens and he follows through. He pays attention. It's like, what man does that?
Wow, that's beautiful. And the fact that he'll go anywhere, even in the middle of the night for you, that works too, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing that. Not that you ever need him to do it, but just the knowing is enough, right? Yeah. What are some of the things that she does to remind you every day that she loves you?
Well, she loves to giving presents. And one of my favorites was one that just blew me away. It was a bicycle jersey with Rudy, our red dachshund on the front, and Gretchen on the back. And I mean, she sent off to Colombia, South America, for this thing.
You should have seen his eyes light up when he got it. Opened my heart up. It was clear that this was like the best present ever, because I know him. He loves those dogs.
Yeah, we're not into material things. One of the positive things about living on a sailboat for 5 years is that you don't accumulate stuff. So we've never accumulated stuff, and we don't watch television. We read. So our life is basically pretty simple.
Yeah, and together.
Yeah.
Together, but yet, I think one of the keys is that you're together, but you still are who you are individually. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you wish that you have known about relationship before that you know now?
There's another thing that's important that he does. He is so complimentary to me all the time. He tells me that he thinks I'm beautiful, or he he knows the pat phrase. I'll say,
Yeah.
How does my hair look? It doesn't make you fat. He says it to everything. He says that to everything, the humor. But he's constantly complimenting me about everything, and I hope that I do the same for him.
Absolutely.
We tell each other how we feel. Mm-hmm. We puff each other up, but it's not just to do that. It's because we feel that way. I think it's really important that you keep letting the other person know how important they are in your life. We all need that, and it's when you feel that your needs aren't being met that newness wears off. That's what you're feeling here when you said you seem like you're still on your honeymoon. We still treat each other like it's a honeymoon every day because we make a conscious effort to do that.
I have never felt taken, like I'm being taken for granted. Never once.
Hit me upside the head if you do.
That's pretty powerful. And obviously you both pay attention to the other person's needs, desires. You're hearing each other because you're picking up on things and he's picking up on your things, and then being able to feed that back into each other's lives to say, it's almost a confirmation of saying, I hear you, without saying it, through the small gift like the stuffed animal.
And you just made me realize, though, that I've never heard him say a critical thing about me. And I hope he never has from me either. And that's probably pretty rare. I think it has to do with how people are raised. A lot of people are raised being told negative things about themselves, but we never say anything bad. Oh, you, whatever, do we?
No.
I can't imagine. That would hurt me. Yeah.
One piece of advice that you could share to help somebody create their best relationship.
For me, it's just remember what it is that attracted you in the first place and bring that out in that person every day by whatever it was you did in the beginning of your relationship. Do that every day and keep the magic going. right? Yeah.
And just look for opportunities to do nice romantic things for your partner, whatever they are.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't always need to be monetarily, right? It could be
No.
simple things like, can I get you a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
What do you say to people that say, that's too much work?
I'm sorry you're alone.
Yeah.
I think that intimacy is so critical. You notice we're holding hands the whole time, but that's the way we are. Just touching regularly is so important, and hugging several times a day, and making sure you kiss first thing in the morning and the goodnight kiss at night. The touching, the physical intimacy is vital. We talk about this a lot. Can't imagine not having that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you share with us why you feel that that's so important?
I think our bodies are made that way. And when we ignore that aspect of a relationship, you might as well just be friends, right? It's made that way. That's part of the attraction, and you keep that alive just with small gestures.
Yeah.
I think just the fact that he agreed to do this interview is another example of how he knows that this is important to do, and he's probably a little out of his comfort zone. I mean, how many guys would sit and talk about relationships and personal things, especially this retired Navy ship captain, a destroyer captain, to sit here and talk about relationships and love is amazing to me. And I that's just another thing that just makes me love him. Yeah, you got points.
It doesn't sound like you need them. It sounds like you got a bank, but points are points. Take them, okay? Yeah. Ty, having that she said that you did agree to do this, and share your story with all of us, which we are so grateful for, especially me. What is your hopes that your message here today? What do you hope? What's your, why did you say the yes to it, and what are your hopes that will be created?
Well, I mean, I was very complimented that when you met Suzanne and I guess me at one of her talks, that you said, okay, they have a great relationship. Well, yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, that's very complimentary to both of us. And if this can help anyone, gee whiz, it's great.
I feel sorry when I see other couples. You see the couples in the restaurant that sit there and don't share a word. I mean, we're together 24/7 and we can still find something to talk about. But you can feel that energy, and it makes my heart sad because I know what's possible. And that's why I'm so grateful to him every day. I know how short life is. I deal with people who have lost their spouses. Every day I see them. And so we know how short life is. So we say I love you 5 times a day. Every time we say goodbye, we say I love you. We treat every moment as if it's our last. We value every moment. Susan taught us that. And boy, you live like that and you have no regrets.